Hey guys, this is Kev Ryan, here to talk about Horizon Wars Zero Dark again. This is kind of a follow-up to the previous video I did, which was a pitch for Horizon Wars. This video is going to be more of a battle report. In it, we're going to look at one of the missions for Horizon Wars Zero Dark, then we're going to take you through some screenshots of when I played this through on Tabletop Simulator. Those of you who are used to my Infinity battle reports will find this very familiar because, in fact, I use the Infinity Tabletop Simulator mod. When I play in person, I play using my Infinity miniatures, so it felt appropriate that when I play online, I should use the Infinity Tabletop Simulator mod. Before going too much further forward though, what is Horizon Wars Zero Dark? It is a sci-fi mini skirmish game that has solo play, is miniatures agnostic, and is really, really fun. I've played about 20 games of this by now, and I like it so much that I really wanted to tell you about it. These battle reports are probably not that interesting from a tactical perspective, and I certainly don't need to do it because it's not like there's a meta. It's a solo game. Who's going to respond, right? But I thought it was really fun, and I hope you find the game interesting, and, battle reports are kind of what this channel's all about. So let's get started. Our mission today is Rescue. This is actually technically a special mission that you can insert into your own campaigns whenever somebody goes down, but it makes a really good standalone mission, and it's the one that I did for the first time as I was really learning the game after I'd finished the training run. As a mission, Rescue is actually pretty similar to the Infinity mission of Supplies. In Infinity, the Supplies mission is widely considered to be the best, most competitive, most balanced mission, and I think that Rescue is the best example of a mission that I could do to show you how Horizon Wars Zero Dark works. In Rescue, the idea is that there are a handful of VIPs or prisoners or other objectives scattered throughout the map. One's in the center, some are randomly deployed, one of them is then, tactically far away from you. And your job is to rescue as many of those people as you can, but especially that last one, that's the primary objective. If you're looking at this page, a lot of this is jargon that is kind of specific to the game. The visibility level, for example, is going to affect all shooting rolls. You add that 2 to the difficulty because of how dark it is. This planned line of departure, for example, is going to tell me that I can deploy anywhere I want along the table edge, and the Red Force deployment rules is going to tell me that I deploy the Red Force as normal, nothing special for this mission. But all of that's details. The primary thing is there's going to be these 5 objectives, 1 primary, bunch of secondaries, and I have to get my heroes up to them. I have to make a die roll in order to release them, and then I have to drag them off the edge of the map to safety. All the while, the Red Force is going to be making my life difficult, shooting at me, hurting me, and calling me nasty names. To accomplish this mission, I have the following team. This is a 3-12-4 hero set, so 3/12/4. That's game jargon, but it basically means I have 3 heroes with a total of 12 upgrades, and each hero has a maximum of 4 upgrades. Those heroes are Vixen, who is a stealthy, kind of fast team leader. Fixer, who is our sapper, which means you can take drones, and is also an EWAP, Electronics Warfare Operator, who's kind of like our hacker. Her drone, Rattle, which is not a hero, but has a gun. Drones are actually pretty cool. They come with your hero, they cost upgrade points, and they get to activate at the same time. And then there's Cookie, who is our lethal silent, that is to say her gun has a silencer, armored hero. I then rolled up the following deployment. Because this is standard deployment, I have the standard bad guys. I have 4 grunts. I have 1 elite per hero. I have 3 heroes, so there's grunt here, grunt here, grunt here. I've got 1 boss, and then there are the objectives. Here's the main objective over here, and then there's an objective there, 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 and over here. The opposition is basically determined by the heroes you take, but the locations is determined by rolling some d12s and placing them on the grid. Technically, I shouldn't have placed her until after I had chosen my deployment, but I looked at the enemy position and I noticed that they were all kind of concentrated in this half of the board, so I decided that I was probably going to have my guys deploy up here, and if they were going to deploy up here, then I was going to position in such a way that the actual target was going to be over there. And indeed, if we take this zoomed out perspective, we can see that the opposition is really concentrated in the middle of the board over here. The actual primary target isn't super well defended. It's over on this side, and based on the terrain, I think my best approach is going to be to start roughly in this area and then try to kind of move up through there, and through there. I can deploy within 6 inches of any table edge. I've already chosen this table edge, but here is where I choose. We've got Vixen, the stealthy one here, Cookie, the shooter there. Fixer over here is going to be our hacker and drone operator, and then there's the drone right there. Based on Vixen's loadout, she is stealthy, she has a thermo cloak, which makes it so that she can re-roll stealth checks, and I think she can just move very, very fast. Also, my own house rule is that I position bad guys so that they are basically facing away from the objective, however they're faced. I don't know that I oriented everyone quite right now, but it does mean that I think that I can take Vixen and get up through here nice and fast without anyone noticing her. Mechanically, this means that her movement is largely going to be driven by cautious moves, and if she has to kill something, she's going to be trying to use the silent CQB rules from Operation Nemesis. I do have a mild house rule on that, by the way, which is that if you start out of line of fire of someone and can somehow get behind them, then you can silent kill them even if they are alert. It's not a big deal, but it's something I'll bring up. Here she is, having gotten all the way up there. You can see the regular order token next to her. I'm using those as support tokens. Support tokens are another mechanic that Horizon Wars has that represents kind of like luck or like extra hit points or something like that. They're stuff that you generate as bonus actions when you have additional successes. Bad guys can get them too, and I actually think they're pretty nifty as far as mechanics go, but I don't need to talk too much about them now. Of course, now that I've gotten so close, I am using cautious moves which deny the enemy their primary action, but they can still take the secondary action. Here we can see one of those grunts moving in my direction. Of course, I am nice and stealthy. I am very fast. Vixen is able to get behind this guy and takes him out. From this picture, I will note that the primary target is just around the corner, and my plan is to get in there, tuck in the corner where no one can see me, hopefully grab that target, and then run off the board. I have to get that primary objective off the edge of the board if I want to win. Unfortunately, the combination of primary and secondary actions doesn't mean that this works out great for me. As you can see, I was able to swing around the corner from over here and get into this position. I did spend an action to free the HVT, which is why I've put this objective marker next to it. But in the process, a grunt has come around the corner. There was a grunt there, and an elite has come around the corner. Moreover, this grunt has a support token, and what's about to happen is we're going to get into a melee fight. Melee fights in this game are brutal. There is no notion of close combat skill and martial arts. It is instead just an explosion of violence where you attack your opponent, they attack you, and whatever wounds happen just kind of happen. Also, close combat doesn't really take an action. All you have to do to trigger close combat is to move into the other person. What's happening here is that the grunt has had enough movement that it can simply move into combat with me, and the stabbing ensues. And unfortunately, I didn't take a good picture of it, but what happens is basically the grunt rolls decently well and manages to put 2 wounds on Vixen, so that requires 3 hits. 1 to get rid of the support token, 2 more wounds on top of that. In contrast, Vixen rolls well enough, I suppose, and kills the grunt, but is pretty well wounded. Wounds are a little bit of a death spiral also. If you get too many wounds, they start giving you dice penalties, eventually you can't move, and then you end up dying. So being wounded is a big deal, and she's cornered. This is where I need to be very judicious about how I'm going to activate. The bad guys activate based on who of the relevant enemy type is closest to the activating hero. So what this means is I'm thinking if I activate Cookie, who's over here, remember Vixen is over in this corner, so if I activate Cookie over here, then I'm going to be activating grunts or elites or bosses that are far enough away from Vixen that I'll be safe. Now these things that activate, they may still go for Vixen, right? So for example, if this elite activates and its action says move towards the nearest enemy, it's going to move towards Vixen. But hopefully it's going to be far enough away from Vixen that Cookie can get in there and save the day. It's a tough plan, but we'll see if it works. Here's a picture of about halfway through. As we can see, Cookie has made it up into this position. She hasn't started killing yet, but she's very good at it. And here's a little bit of aftermath of all that. Remember, she was like down here, over there, and there used to be a boss here, dead now. There used to be a grunt here, dead now. I think there was another grunt that she's taken out, and she is reached this position. Now, the enemies have moved, so an enemy grunt has gotten to this position, an enemy elite has gotten to this position, and I'm really worried that if this grunt rounds around the corner and ends up in melee with Vixen, it could be very bad for me. Still, Cookie's in a good position. Here you can see Cookie has continued around the corner. The idea here was that I want this guy to activate, not this guy, so she has to get closer to him, so she'll get around the corner and kill that guy. And here we can see the aftermath of the next set of moves. So what's going on here is I have taken Vixen from this position and moved around here. There is no line of fire from where she currently is to this bad guy. Meanwhile, this bad guy has run around the corner to here. Now, why have I done this? This is because I know the mission is to escape off the board with the objective, and I know that it can take a lot of activations to pull that off. Moreover, I know that once I kill the last bogey, then every single card we flip is going to be a complication. Complications don't have to be that bad, but they can be. They can be really annoying. So often what you want to do is you don't want to kill everybody. You instead want to kill, the right number of people and to take movement actions while you can do so as it's safe. We keep running. Vixen has gotten to here. The bad guy's gotten to there. And then Vixen is going to run over in this direction. That seems like it's going to work out okay at first. As you can see, Vixen has run away. But as a result of the cards that I have drawn, Cookie has ended up targeted. Targeted is pretty brutal in this game too. The way that it works is if you're targeted, anyone that shoots at you gets an extra die, and also anyone shooting at you gets an extra hit. So what's happening here is my enemy is shooting at me. He has 3 dice because he's an elite, +1 from the targeted, +1 from his own support token. As you can see, he's rolled a 12, a couple of 5s and 6s. This is a very good roll. Cookie is going to be very injured by this process. Even though she has a support token, even though she is more armored than the rest, it is still going to hurt. And for that reason, I basically decide I need to bring my EWAP operator into play. Fixer had been all the way down here for a while, but I've been slowly moving her up with bonus actions till she can get into this position. Now that she's here, she has line of fire on the elite. And what she's going to do is she's going to take advantage of the bonus action economy to hack this guy to make him targeted, and then generate enough bonus actions, hopefully, that Cookie can then shoot, taking advantage of the fact that this guy's targeted. We've already discussed how being targeted is really brutal. I'm just trying to use that fact to my advantage. And as you can see, the targeted succeeds and kills. After that, I didn't take that many pictures because it's mostly a process of trying to move Fixer up, trying to continue Vixen's hustle in that direction, and of course trying to get Rattle, who is over here, to move up as well. Rattle is faster than Fixer, but they can move at the same time because Rattle's a drone. That goes pretty well until I start rolling some complications that generate bad guys. In particular, we generate 3 more grunts, so 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, and then we have another complication which generates a bogey EWAP, a bogey electronic warfare operator, who is being played by this lovely heckler that I think Toasty painted. It's a really great miniature. Toasty is one of the Infinity community leaders down in New York City where I used to play, so it's kind of fun to get to see his models on TTS. My big concern in this moment, by the way, is that Cookie's up here with 3 wounds. If you get 5 wounds, you're dead. If you get 4 wounds, you're pretty helpless and are likely to die. I really cannot afford to have enemies activating because they might just run into Cookie, or they might shoot her. There's a lot that could go wrong. So basically what I end up doing is I take Fixer, I put Fixer in the middle, and I try to very judiciously move Fixer so that Fixer is either, closer to bad guys than Cookie is, so that the bad guys will move towards Fixer, or is closer to bad guys that are far away, right? Like if I'm closer to this guy than this guy, then this guy is the one who will activate, for example. Unfortunately, this isn't quite perfect. My goal is to try to get Fixer over to Cookie. Fixer is the smartest in the bunch, which means he's the best at being a medic. But it does mean that this bad guy is going to move in behind Cookie. He is able to take out her support token. She is going to kill him in the process. But I'm really lucky he doesn't, this guy doesn't put any wounds on Cookie. He just takes out the support token. Anyway, more healing, more moving. One thing I like about having a Sapper and EWAP having a really good acuity score is that that means that the medic can do medic things while the drone kind of runs around and does drone things. The way the rules work is that whenever you activate with a hero that has a drone, the drone can also activate as well. The drones have some other restrictions, but in this case, it means the drone can run around and start fetching objectives while I am, doing the work of trying to reduce those 4 wounds down to 1. Unfortunately, as this is happening, complications are being generated. I first have a complication that redeploys the bad guys into annoying spots. I then have to kill the bad guys, and I get another complication that resets the primary objective back to its spot. Technically, it could have been any objective, but I got unlucky, and it was the primary objective that got reset. So that's annoying, and it's almost like we've not made any progress at this point. So things are a little hectic, but the good news is that Rattle the Drone is fast. Rattle the Drone comes up to here. Rattle the Drone is basically going to make a beeline all the way to the end, and then I think come back for our primary target, Helen of Troy. And the reason Rattle is good at this, by the way, is, again, it's just that you can only heal 1 wound per order in this game, so it's going to take me like 4 activations to heal the 4 wounds over here, and Rattle can just kind of chug along moving and moving and moving. He's got a movement of 5, which is decent, and when you're dragging someone, you want to roll dice based on your movement, so, that works out too. Anyway, success. Engineering deck officer rescued. Time to go back into the thick of it. A little annoying, Cookie manages to take another wound. After all that work healing you, Cookie, you could try to stay healthy. But Fixer is going to be trying to run to get to the HVT as Rattle the Drone kind of comes up from that direction. And that awkward situation out of the way, it is time to start grabbing. Cookie manages to secure the old man objective there, and she starts running. As we can see, Fixer has made it up into here. There is one enemy, which is this grunt here, but Cookie's only got 1 move, and she's kind of fast, so I'm thinking that I can probably be better off running away rather than trying to trigger a cascade of complications. Now, you still can get complications even when there are enemies on the board. If you draw a Joker, a complication happens, and if you draw a card that activates a trooper that is too high level for you, that also activates a complication. So if you draw an elite card when there's only grunts on the board, it turns into a complication. So we get a heavy that spawns down here. Heavies are kind of like super elites. You get a boss gets spawned there, and of course the original grunt is in that position. Spawning complications is actually a good thing for me, though, because what's happening here is I'm just running away. And as I run away, the bad guys are spawning like over back in this position. So I'm kind of okay with this. And as you can see, we really are able to escape. Everybody ends up with lots of these support tokens. Support tokens, again, are nice because they're kind of like a blade of wounds. We've got objectives. We're running out of here. And that's pretty much it. Nothing more dramatic happens. The heavy starts coming after us, but we've gotten our troops on the other side of the board, and things are good. Rattle manages to get someone off. Fixer helps out and trudges along herself. She's kind of slow, so that was nice that Rattle did that. Vixen just escapes herself, and Cookie drags the old man away. So, mission accomplished. We rescued the primary target and 2 additional targets. There are still 2 more additional targets back out there. I think we might have been able to get 1 more of them had the primary objective not reset. I don't know about 2 of them. That's a lot of movement. And the problem is that, once you get into the phase where complications are happening, it can be really brutal to try to stay on the map. But that was the mission. So it was fun to do. If this had been a campaign, I would start doing things like tracking experience and trying to think about what the next mission was. But as it happens, I was just doing this a one and done to kind of show you how it went. Hopefully, you now have a better understanding of the strategy of Horizon Wars Zero Dark. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you around.